All right, welcome back. We're going to do nouns today. I'm Reverend John David Duke Jr. I'm combing my too long hair. Remember, there's a pandemic going on if you're not watching in the fall of 2020. And I haven't had a haircut in a little while. I'm losing a lot of it anyway, so it's okay. I am the pastor, Reverend John David Duke Jr. of Concordia Lutheran Church in Newfane, New York, and St. John Lutheran Church in Youngstown, New York, which is Niagara County, New York, Lake Ontario, Niagara Falls region. Beautiful, especially September, October. Um, and I also am the Old Testament professor, adjunct, part time, have been since 2004 at St. Catherine's, Concordia Lutheran Theological Seminary in St. Catherine's. Been teaching Hebrew since '99. On the go, you can check out the other 4 lessons, I think, well, 3 plus exercises. And what I'm trying to do is get you through Andrew Bartelt's lovely grammar book, the best grammar book there is, and it will remain so until I am done, at least until I am done with my dissertation. You're the best Dr. Father a man could ever want to have. So, there's good news and bad news. Basic morphology of Hebrew is the best news you're ever going to hear in Hebrew, and here we are in chapter 2. It's also going to be the worst news you're going to hear in Hebrew because it introduces something called vowel reduction. If you haven't turned off your computer already, stick around and let's get it going together. You'll see here a couple of boxes. I'm assuming that you'll buy the book and read it yourself. This is an explanatory, so I'm going to go straight to the drawing screen. Now, let's start with a monosyllabic word for the sake of discussion. These are rare enough, and that is left over from the last one I did. And you end up with a little bit of this and a little bit of this box. You're going to love this box because you're going to see it a million times when we get to things like the participles and such. Okay? But for right now, let's not worry about that. Let's get on with what we have before us. So you have, generally speaking, a singular and plural, and you're going to have masculine and feminine. That's the good news. That's it. There's no declension in Hebrew. That's it. That's all you got. It's all true. And that does include things like participles and such. You've only got this box to contend with. And if you can't memorize 4, and really just 3 things, if you can't memorize 4 things, why, you're having some real difficulties. 3 things. 4, maybe 5. But it's not going to be 10 or 12, and it's not going to be 3 sets of 18 like in Greek or whatever it is. And I got to look at the book real quick. Right, singular and plural on top, masculine and feminine to the side. So let's take our word for horse. Horse. Oopsie, that's no good. I bumped it with something here. There we go. So horse. The word for horse in Hebrew is sus, spelled with a mater letter, shirk, sus. Okay? To make it plural, and to make any masculine word plural that takes masculine endings, you always have your oddballs in any language. You add on the ending herrick, yod, mame. By the way, I'm lying to you. Almost every word out of my mouth has been a lie so far, but that's just in keeping with the introduction to this book. Susim. And an important thing happens here. The accent, for future reference, because it's a monosyllabic word, is here, sus. The accent shifts to the end of the word, which is right here. So it's not pronounced susim, which is really important. It's pronounced susim. And when you syllabify, you're going to have with sus, I'm going to do it over here in the corner, real quick. You have a closed syllable accented, so when it has a motto letter in it, doesn't matter. Closed syllable, right? Okay, so that's done. But now, actually I can leave that up, but I have to take this down. I'm having some difficulties with my program here. It should delete, and I don't know why it's not deleting. Huh. Well, at any rate, delete, delete, delete key. Select, delete, should delete. Well, it's not gonna. Delete. Boy, that's a puzzler, isn't it? Let's add our eam ending. And now we have going backwards, right? Because that's what you learned in the exercises. Consonant, vowel, consonant. I'm sorry, I have something in my throat. It's allergy season. Okay, remembering one thing very important. This is a vowel. That heroic yod is a mater letter, mater lectionis. It is a vowel. That yod is a vowel, not a consonant. So consonant, vowel, consonant, which includes these letters, right? Got it? So we're going to put a little red mark, or actually we can't put a red mark there. This is your new syllabification. And now you have consonant and vowel. An open syllable. So sus is closed, and susim, the su is the open syllable, right? This is really important. Go back and do the exercises for chapter 1 if you don't understand this. You must understand this. This really does make a huge difference in about 10 minutes. So let's get rid of that. See if the delete key works now. Don't know. If you want to put in the comments why that works and why that doesn't work, sometimes I don't know. Yeah. Now, a female horse in English has a different word, mare, M-A-R-E. In Hebrew, it doesn't have a different word. It is the same word with the feminine termination, we'll call it. And that would be, let's just put it in a lovely blue instead of a bright red. There it is, accommodates, hey. There's your feminine ending. Remember, this isn't sex, even though this corresponds to sex in this case. This is gender. And in language, you have to make a distinction between gender and sex. Gender is just a way that the language developed in order to distinguish certain nouns from other certain nouns, and on occasion they do correspond to sex, but it's not how it works. It's not somehow suppressive. With this word, it is an automatic addition. You are going to want to put in this box for your learning a tau, because, and I'm going to say something to you that's hard to hear, that kamates hey is really a tau. It will make sense in time to come. Not every tau is feminine, but every kamates hey has a tau behind it. Okay, so you want to put in this box as you're memorizing it that there's a tau. That's the real feminine ending. It's the feminine that's standing behind the feminine. It's the real femininity. I don't know. You got to come up with your own mnemonic devices, but you want to have a tau here. Oh, because eventually, not too long from now, but not today, you'll go, oh, I see. That's why he said that there's a tau as the real feminine. If you learn it now, you don't have to learn it later. If you don't learn it now, you have to learn it later. That reminds me of a story. I do woodworking by hand, and so I buy books and watch videos on the thing. And there are three main schools for learning how to do woodworking. And they are the Japanese style, the Norwegian style, Scandinavian style, and the English style. American is going to be dominated by the English, but not a little influenced by the Scandinavian style. The Japanese style is an innovation. Now, when it comes to sharpening and use of your chisels, which is a fundamental tool in woodworking, there are some things you can do. There's a method for gouging out a mortise, for a tenon and mortise, just a basic joint. You know how you stick the bed framed together to the bedposts. That's a mortise and tenon, generally speaking. Well, you can either lever out the wood like that, or you can slowly chop it out. The English will lever it out. That's the English method. And the Scandinavian method is to chop it out slowly, horizontally. Well, why? The Scandinavians say, well, if you lever it out, you will have to sharpen your chisels. The English say, if you lever it out, you'll have to sharpen your chisels. See, the idea is, do you want to sharpen your chisels frequently or not? And the English are like, what's the big deal? It's a 5-minute process. Just chisel your things. The Scandinavians are like, why would you waste 5 minutes of your time when you could be chiseling? You see, so that's the same thing here. Do you want to memorize the Tao now or later? And I probably told the story longer than it would take to memorize the Tao, which I erased for some reason. Let's go ahead and leave that there. That's me entertaining myself because I have done this a few times and I'm having a ball. The plural termination for the feminine, let's use purple, indigo, I don't know, is the holum wow, which is a matra letter, right? Tau, okay? There's kind of a clue that tau really does a lot of work in the feminine, but don't worry about that. The accent is here, right? Oh, and I forgot to put the accent on this one, just for the sake of thinking. So the same thing is going to happen. What began as a closed syllable, sus, is now 2 syllables, and the sus is open now, su, soth. So I'll pronounce them in a clockwise orientation, or whatever. Sus, susim, and then the plural feminine, susoth, and the plural of the singular feminine, susa. Let me do it now, singular, plural, singular, plural. Sus, susim, susa, susoth. That's how it works. Now, that's the good news. Very simple. This won't take you 2 seconds to memorize. If you don't have it memorized already, why, maybe you ought to do some memory exercises just to get the memory to work properly, right? I'm not insulting him, just saying, look, there's some basic functions of memory that if you just concentrate for 2 seconds, you'll have it done. In fact, let's do it together without the hints here. Sus. Well, what's the ending? You don't even know what's sus. You got sus. What's the plural ending? Susim. What's the feminine singular? Susa. The feminine plural? Susoth, right? Susoth. Good. Okay, you're good enough. Well, it would be nice if all the words in Hebrew were monosyllabic, but they're not. They are, generally speaking, polysyllabic. I got to check the paradigm because I have my own. What does he use here in the book? Okay. Yeah, okay. For the masculine, there's no more boxes, I don't think. Yeah. For the masculine, you're going to have the same termination for this polysyllabic masculine singular word. This is davar, the word for word. Don't worry about the dots right now. The dots get tedious when they're not necessary here. You know what? For completeness sake. How hard was that? Okay, so this word is spelled with no termination, davar. The accent is here. Davar. Syllabified, it is, let's go over here and do it in slow motion. Syllabified, you have the accent here, but you're going to have the consonant, the vowel, and the consonant, right? And so you make it here. And then you're going to have an open syllable. Oops. You're going to have an open syllable, consonant, vowel. Unaccented open syllable has a long syllable in it, right? A long vowel. Davar. Okay, davar. Get that ready. Again, if this isn't making sense to you, go back and do the exercises for chapter 1 until it does. Now, when we make it plural, we're going to use the same letters, and I need to make sure I have some distinction there. And my tablet slipped. Sorry. I'm not going to point it yet. And then we're going to add our eem ending, and I'm going to do that in red as a flashing reminder in your conscience, or something like that. Okay, you've added the eem. You've shifted the accent to here. Oh dear. There's some things that are going to happen here. Let's write this over here on the side. And I'm going to write it in red for, again, reasons. Now the accent has shifted. And I'm going to go ahead and make some assumptions that you know how to syllabify now. There's your first syllable coming back again. There's your second syllable, right? Remember how we did this very first day, I think it was. That was alphabet. Second day. This is the tone because the accent is here. And I'm going to put it up here. Right. This one is the pretone. Oops. It's the one that comes before the tone. All syllables which precede the pretone are proprotonic. So go ahead and get the joke out of the way. It's the pro-proprotonic. It's the pro-pro-pro-proprotonic, and so on and so forth. I've heard the joke. It was funny the first 3 years. Okay, so this is pretone. Okay. And there are rules governing the pro-protonic syllable. A lot of rules here. You can find this in your book. I'm cleaning it up for the sake of clarity here. Now, we know what the dot is here. It's the eem ending. Doesn't matter what you do. You count your syllables and you go to the proprotonic. What do you have in the proprotonic? Well, from the singular masculine, you have these two vowels. Da, va, reem, right? The accent has shifted to the end. And so these are going to get out of, these are going to try to do something to fix that. This syllable, if it's an open, unaccented syllable with a commates in it, is going to reduce. Reduction to a schwa. I can hear one of my kids hollering. This is great for when you're trying to teach. So the proprotonic syllable is going to reduce, right? An open proprotonic syllable, usually with a commates, less often with a serre. This is a sometimes rule, but it's very rare that a serre is in the proprotonic syllable to begin with. It's going to be a commates. It's going to have proprotonic reduction. And the idea is what the Masoretes have done here is they have preserved pronunciation to an almost arcane degree. This is really marginal, but it really does help with spelling and understanding what you're looking at. And again, it looks like, well, I can ignore this. Can't I just feel my way through it? You really can't because of analysis. Analysis is key in Hebrew. It's too hard. Now they're fighting. I hope you can hear my kids fighting. My kids are like your kids. Let's see. Proprotonic reduction preserves pronunciation. So you have davar, right? And you have two wide open syllable sounding things. Davar. When you move the syllable, you can't do that anymore. You can't say davarim. You just say naturally devarim. And it's the example I used of envelope. When it's used as a verb, you change the way it's pronounced, and you end up with a schwa in a different place. It's envelop, right? And the schwa sounding thing switches. envelope, the V is your schwa, and in envelop, the up is your schwa sound. And it's just natural. That's what languages do, because you can only have so many stresses in a word. You can have 2 in a 3-syllable word, but you can't have 3 in a 3-syllable word. Otherwise, you don't have any distinctions in how you talk, right? Envelope doesn't tell you if it's a verb or a noun, right? It's confusing enough as it is, right? So let's get that up on here properly with the red ink in the box, and hopefully you're beginning to understand what's going on. I'm doing this as slow as I can. You have de, va, reem, right? And that's how it works. This has reduced because it is in the proprotonic syllable, which is long, open and unaccented. Right. Now, feminine, same problems, but sometimes they're taken care of in advance. Let me take a look at what he uses for the feminine in the book. I don't think he does spelling changes. So the idea, I think, in the feminine is that you have already the thing taken care of. So let's take a look, for example, at Adama. I'm going to not make the same mistake twice. Is that a feminine word? I think so. Okay, which is the word for dirt or earth or ground. There's your feminine termination. And when you syllabify, you see that something has already happened. You will see that you can syllabify here, and you can syllabify here. And again, if you don't understand that, chapter 1 exercises until you understand it. Well, tone, pretone, pro-pretonic. You already have the pro-pretonic, and if you look at it, why, by golly, it's already been reduced. That's a schwa. So you don't have any reduction to do when you make this feminine. And how do you make this feminine? You take off the ah ending. I don't know if I said that when I was presenting the monosyllabic ones. You take off the ah ending and you add the oath. And there's not going to be anything changes. So dirts, grounds, I don't know. Remember, this is just paradigm. So you don't really have any changes to worry about in this case, except that you've taken off one ending and added another. Okay? A demoth. Now, there are several things you have to work on, and that's what exercises are for. I'm going to check the book real quick for things I might want to cover right away. Basically, vocabulary. You have irregular stuff. You have to just learn the irregular. So let's switch over to the book, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Some plurals are simply irregular, and you got to get used to this in the book. You learn the basic principle in Bartelt's presentation. You learn the basic principles, and then there's always like, well, there's just this irregularity here. Yeah, there's going to be irregularities because it's a 2,000-year-old language, and I think it's already about 1,000 years old by the time you get to King David. From the time of Abraham to David is about 1,000 years, I believe. Depends on how you date everything. That's a long time for a language to develop, and it's going to be introduced with all sorts of foreign words and influences, and then the history of the Hebrew people from Abraham. They go to Egypt, and then they go to Canaan, and they separate out as separate clans, and some people can't even say Shibboleth, they say Sibboleth, and so on and so forth. So you're going to have these irregularities. That's different from variations. And variations come with verbs next chapter. Irregularities are genuine things that can't be sensed, induced, and you have to get, well, actually, you can't deduce them, and you have to induce them. You need to make a separate card for each of these forms so that you don't look at avoth and go, gosh, I wonder how to get from avoth to what it's actually saying. Nope, you have to have avoth as a separate memory card, and you must learn it as fathers because it's irregular. You won't get to the singular. You never will. You might learn the etymology. Well, this is the feminine plural of father. It acts. It's a masculine word that acts like a feminine word when it's in the plural. See, there's no real connection to sex when it comes to gender, is there? I mean, fathers is the last thing you're going to think would be a feminine noun, but there you have it. It's clearly a masculine noun, but it takes a feminine plural ending. Why? Just how languages work sometimes, right? Let's see, what else do we have here? Double consonant. I wouldn't burn any calories on this. This is most certainly true. Just learn it and forget about it, and don't worry too much about it. It won't make that big a difference as you go along, honestly. There is one thing that I always miss, and I have gotten to where I don't miss it so often now because I miss it all the time and I'm embarrassed. And so the embarrassment has changed it. It's 2B here. A two-syllable noun with an unchangeably long vowel in the first syllable cannot shorten the proprotonic. Okay, that's just basic stuff. That's why the mater letter was written in the first place, because it can't be shortened. And that's one of the main reasons it's written. The second reason being so that you can identify plural and stuff like that. Okay. Now what happens is, when you have accommates, see example 18? And I'll just center it for you. Kokav. It won't shorten. So what's going on here? I'll show you what's going on. Go back to the chart here. What is going on? Well, my kids are fighting and distracting me. You take a word like, first let's do mo'ave. All right. So you have this. There's your mater letter. Can't be reduced. You have a, you have a sere there. And I'm going to double dog check just to make sure I'm doing the right thing here. Yep, okay. Right, so when you want to say meetings, there's going to be syllabification change because you're going to have a shift change. Meetings of many minds, many meetings, we still didn't decide what we do. So you have the syllabification working like that. I'm going to move those lines away. You can stop the video and so on and so forth for clarity's sake here. We have the proprotonic syllable here. We have the pretonic syllable here. And we have the tone here, right? The proprotonic syllable cannot reduce. It is an unchangeably long vowel, and this happens too with closed, unaccented syllables in the proprotonic position. Well, the word wants to do something. We got to get out of here. We've got to do some reduction, don't we? And so the reduction moves over here to the pretonic and looks to see if it can reduce. It sees a sere. The sere can reduce. And in this case, the sere reduces to a schwa, which for the guttural E vowel is adim, but I think this one's probably going to go to an A vowel. I'm going to check. Yeah, it goes to an A vowel because the rule here invoked is gentlemen prefer blondes and gutturals prefer A vowels. Moadim, right? Moadim. 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 Have fun with it. Now, that's the principle there, but what about if you actually have, you don't have a sere? Well, that would be this example, kokav, which I believe is star, as in Britney Spears. Or is she a starlet? Nah, she's a star. Kokav, but we're not talking about Britney Spears because she'd be kokava. Let's see. Because that is gender. Because a feminine person is in the feminine gender, a sex person that way. I don't know any male stars anymore. Brad Pitt, is he still a star? I don't know, getting old. Let's make it plural, and I'm going to stick with black for other reasons. Again, clarity. The accent is shifted to here, right? So you've got a whole syllabification issue going on. You got this and this, right? So you have this open, unaccented syllable with commates in it in the pre-tonic. So this is the tone, this is the pre-tone, and this is the propretonic, right? You come to the propretonic and you find that you cannot reduce. So the reduction process goes to the pretone. It finds accommates there. It won't reduce. Will not reduce. Why not? I don't know. I'm just the messenger. That's about all there is to this chapter. You learn that, and you will have mastery over this concept of propretonic reduction, spelling changes with shifting of tone, accent, and also your vocab. Please spend about half the time you're spending on vocabulary. And it's a good rule of thumb, rule of sore thumb. Do your vocabulary first for once or twice. How long does it take you to memorize the vocabulary? Say an hour? Then you should work on this for another hour. If you don't understand this after an hour, push it back and walk away. And then come back to it again later, right? So the idea is spend about 2 hours a day on your Hebrew. If you don't have 2 hours a day, this is going to take you a little longer. Do it every day. And do it in equal parts. Let's say you have only 15 minutes for vocabulary. I mean, if you have less than 30 minutes to work on a language, you're never going to learn it. Spend your 15 minutes on your vocabulary. Don't worry about if you've learned them all or not. And then spend 15 minutes on your lesson, the grammar and the morphology, right? This is less grammar and more morphology. 15 minutes. You don't have it down. Fine. Put it down. Take courage. Pick it back up the next day, the next day. You need to make sure you do this every day. 15 minutes on your vocab again, 15 minutes. So like, a bedtime routine perhaps, because it is best to do this right before you go to sleep, because you can sleep on it and things happen and the jelly forms in your brain, and it's got the little bits of fruit Hebrew right in there, right? And you can take it out of the fridge the next day and there's your Hebrew all congealed and ready to go. It's all good. You'll do fine. Just do it every day. Don't be discouraged. And as always, reach out to me. I'll try to get back in touch with you if you're trying to do this on your own. All right? That's all for me today, and I'll come back a little later with some exercises. So work hard, be of good cheer, enjoy this journey.